Hey, it's Tim here. In today's video, we're checking out the new Amazon S3 connector that's currently out in beta straight off the back of conference. As ever, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to try this in two places. First, we're going to try it in desktop. You can skip ahead to the all cloud version where we try it in Tableau Cloud. But for this one, I'm starting off in desktop because I just want to show you how to install the connector when working off Tableau desktop. So if you go to the to a server section, you can see there's a list here. This is normally the most recent connections, but you can see I've already used the S3 connector, so it's available. But if it's not there, if you select more, you can go down to this list and you can see that I actually have it here. And if you're opening Tableau and you don't have the Amazon S3 connector, that's because it's not installed by default. To install it, what you want to do is you want to head to the Tableau Exchange, and this works for Tableau Prep, Tableau Server, and Tableau Desktop. You go to the connectors section of the Tableau Exchange. The Tableau Exchange is just a marketplace for connectors, extensions, and templates for Tableau. And then you can see the S3 connectors right here. You download it, and what this does is it downloads a file to your downloads folder or your desktop, wherever you tell it to go. And then once you've got that file, you're not done. What you need to do is you need to put it in one of these directories. It's super important you do this because Tableau looks in these folders to see additional connectors. And so you can see here, it's pretty consistent. In fact, in desktop and prep, it's virtually the same place. So I actually have those locations open here on my computer. You can see my Tableau Prep repository. If I go to the connectors, I have two taco files. This is the file extension that adds additional connectors. So Google Analytics is one I've just done a video on just literally a couple of days ago. And then here you've got the S3 connector. And you notice that these have versions. I'll come back to that in 1 second. The same is true with Tableau. So Tableau Desktop has the exact same folder structure. If you go to connectors, you can see I have the two files. And so once you've put it there, you open Tableau. If you've already got it open, close it, open it again. It will load these connectors and you'll see it in this list that loads up here, along with the other data connectors, even though it lives on the Tableau Exchange. So this is how you get this file on here. Now, before I hop into the product, it's just worth noting that this is a beta. And obviously what that means is Tableau will keep updating this. I'm not aware of a mechanism that can update these taco files as these get updated. So I think what you have to do is you bookmark this page and come back and you have to check the version you're running versus the version that's on here. I hope in the future Tableau does roll out some sort of update capability. So when you're updating desktop or you're doing any patches, it checks these connectors and downloads the latest version for you. But because you're typically putting a file in a very sensitive place, this is probably going to have to be a manual operation, or there is a sort of command line installation mechanism for Tableau. And if you're working in enterprise, it should be possible for your IT admins to put a specific file in this directory. So have it done that way if that's going to be something that you're going to use across the organization. Now, once you've got everything set up, you can go ahead to Tableau Prep or Tableau Desktop. I'll show you Tableau Prep briefly. If I go to the plus sign, you'll see that if I actually just type in S3, you see that it comes up right there. And if I click on that, it opens up the connector. I'm going to show you how to connect here in desktop because that's what most people are using. So we'll go ahead and click on the connector and I'll show you how to set this up. When it loads for the first time, it actually loads a web window. And you can see here, it has a timer saying elapsed time 8 seconds, executing query. And then for me, a few seconds later, a web window shows up. Now, when this was happening in those 8 seconds, the first time I run this, I was actually clicking around thinking, hey, what's going on? And the simple act of clicking on Tableau actually sent that window to the background. So you might be looking at a screen like this, the time is going up and you're wondering, why is this taking so long? Well, it's because it's behind the window. So just make sure you look out for that. That caught me out for about a couple of minutes and I realized, oh wait, this is probably behind the window. Anyway, now we're here. It wants 4 things. Essentially the details around your Amazon S3 bucket. If you're not familiar with Amazon S3, S3 stands for simple storage system, essentially simple storage system. I hope it's simple storage system. If it's not, correct me in the notes below. I used to be certified in AWS. I need to get back on that, obviously. But it wants 4 things: the bucket region, the bucket name. These are 2 pretty standard things to get if you're working with S3. Then it has access key ID and a secret access key. These are things to authenticate you so it knows that you have access to look at this. So you should have this already set up and you should know these details if you need to use this connector. If you don't know these details, find them first, then you can use this connector. So I'm going to set this up and then we're going to skip past this because I don't want to share my details so you can all go and use up my AWS credit. So let's go ahead and copy my details. Okay, so I've got all my details entered. You simply go ahead and hit sign in. And what this should do is it should load up the next step. Now, the next step shows you what's in your bucket. Essentially, the first step is it scans your bucket. And you can see here, it says it found 60 files. You can actually dismiss that if you know what you're going to find. You can actually get rid of it just here on the top right. And all you have left is essentially directory structure. And the reason I've got a few files here is because I wanted to see what this connector could do, because you can upload virtually anything to S3. So I wanted to see, hey, can this S3 connector connect to a range of different files? And so the two things I know it can connect to are CSV and Excel files. It can't connect to hypers. So this is not going to be a way to upload a hyper to S3 and then have this connector read that hyper in a sort of consistent way. That's not currently possible. You're still going to be better off publishing the hyper to Tableau Cloud or Tableau Server to use that in a more sort of flexible way. That said, I've had a few bugs opening Excel files. I actually haven't been able to get it to work. It might be that my version of Tableau is not actually supported on my version of macOS. I'm using macOS Ventura. 23.1 does not support that. 23.2 will support that. So hopefully this will be more stable. So I'll go ahead and I'm actually going to use a CSV file. This file I'm going to use is actually this one, London Fire Brigade incident data for the last 3 years. And so we'll go ahead and connect to that. And you'll see something really interesting with CSV files. When you do that, it goes and queries the whole bucket. And just like on desktop, you can see that it's not only just brought back the file we selected, but it's actually brought back all the CSVs in the whole directory, including the ones that were inside of this other directory. So if you have an S3 bucket where lots of people are putting files, maybe every single day there's a transaction, or maybe every single day there is something going on, you should be able to use that setup to sort of bring them all in. I'm not sure you can tell this connector to continuously scan the entire bucket for everything and bring it all in. It doesn't seem to support some way of saying that. I'd be interested to know if maybe there's a secret sort of backend where you can query this with SQL, but you don't have that option here to create custom SQL that reads the S3 bucket. There's nothing like that, but you've just got a basic setup here. And what you could do is, if you wanted to, is you could actually select multiple files, and you can go ahead and select new union. And if you drag that in, you then get the option to essentially specify what you want, and you can drag all these files in and it's capable of reading that as well. But for that, and this is still in beta, and I've not been able to sort of consistently get that to work. So I'm just going to show you one file type so we can keep this video nice and snappy. We'll bring in the London Fire Brigade incident data. And, I'm constantly sort of having to battle me being on a Mac and also using a beta product, two unstable things. And sometimes you experience sort of interface issues, sometimes you experience bugs. Now, the thing to note about this file is it's 180 megabytes. And don't forget, I'm using this on my desktop machine. So if we think about the network journey, my desktop machine is sending off a query to Amazon S3 in US East 1. That's the region that my bucket is in. It's querying that data, and don't forget, it's doing it live. It's doing this live to the data set. So if you were to add, update that file, I'm assuming it should be able to read that update in almost real time. And it's able to sort of go and access that data. I could take an extract so it's local, but when we go ahead and connect to sheet 1, we get everything that was in that file. Now, this is an annoying file because it's a CSV. Had no column headers, but I can reassure you that all the data is indeed here, and you can pretty much see that everything is working. There's a lot of metadata missing from this. Everything is coming as text. It's clearly not. But the way this was working, you'd hope that over time, this S3 connector gets a little bit smarter and can automatically identify some of these column types. There's definitely a column or two here that you'd hope Tableau would be able to identify. For example, you've got the cities. The London is a city here. You've got some towns here that it should be able to identify as geographical fields. But it might be that the way the S3 connector is querying the file, it's just not able to deduce that metadata automatically like desktop does sometimes with CSVs. So that's something to watch out for. But this is in beta. This is not done. So that's still yet to come. And hopefully Tableau resolves that. So now here I am connected to a file live in S3. We can actually just look at this. Let's go ahead and just do a basic chart just to say this is working live. So we'll go ahead and get column 12. Column 12 is the postcode, the outcode. So we can go ahead and bring that in. And if we do that, we can then also go get the column, the row count, which is just down here. And we can see how many rows for each data set. And that should give us an idea of the spread. So it seems that most of the fire brigade incidents were in Croydon. Again, I'm reading this in real time from Amazon S3 just here in Tableau Desktop. So this works really, really nicely. You can sort of get this to work and get it to work. In fact, let's just try and do something. Let's just try and say to Tableau that this has a geographic role. It's a postcode, and it's probably going to complain. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's going to really complain because it doesn't have any country information, but it's actually been able to handle it. You can see it's actually been able to sort of generate that. So we can, let's look at the locations. It's got that is UK Kingdom. It doesn't know these 4 postcodes, so that's fine. You could probably correct these. There's probably something wrong with these particular postcodes. I think it's probably just EC2 and EC3P. This looks like a typo. So we could probably sort of do some data cleansing to these to make them work. W1A, you don't normally, in UK, you don't normally have an outcode that ends with a letter. Normally they end in a number. So these are definitely issues. And BF1 might just be another typo from a different sort of setup. So at least that we know is working. So we can go ahead, get a background. Let's see what we're going to do here. Let's get... let's do streets. Let's do this one. This is a nice map, so it kind of looks a little bit more familiar. Give that a bit of time to load, and there we go. We can kind of start to see what's going on, and then what we can do to give us a sense of what the London Fire Brigade is facing, we can put that on size. We can make it red, and we can just make it sort of stand out a little bit. Let's get my face out of the way here. Let's just make this a little bit larger and then just bump this up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So that's starting to look nice. And now we can start to see where the London Fire Brigade is getting called out in London. Very quick, nice and easy file in Amazon S3. Perfect. Now, Tableau also talk about this connector working in a cloud-only setup. And so you've kind of seen the pace and the speed that we've had going here. Now we're going to do the exact same thing in Tableau Cloud. So give me 1 second to open up Tableau Cloud and we can set that up and we can almost start in exactly the same place with a new connector. Let's take a look. Okay, we're here in Tableau Cloud through the magic of production. We're going to go straight into this. So let's go ahead, select a new workbook in Tableau Cloud. For clarity, my Tableau Cloud instance is 10AX. I think this is the Arizona Amazon instance that Tableau Cloud runs in. 10AX is Arizona. My AWS region is US East. So although this might not be in the exact same region, it will definitely be traveling inside of what they call the AWS backbone network. So rather than traversing the internet, it's going to be traversing the special, stuff that exists between Amazon data centers. So we'll go ahead to the connectors tab. We'll select Amazon S3. We'll go ahead and hop in, and you'll notice you get the same web window. One thing I found super interesting with all the new connectors, it's definitely clear that Tableau is building sort of unified interfaces that work both on the web and inside of the desktop setup. So it feels to me like desktop is heading towards the web more and more, to the point where I think what we'll have in the end is essentially a container which contains the web experience but allows you to go offline. So let's go ahead and put the same information we need to put in here. So let's go ahead and fill this out. So we'll fill this out. We're going to hit sign in. And we get the same window. So we've got this window. I don't know if it's possible to resize it. It doesn't seem like that's the case. If I do a browser resize, it doesn't help either. So I wish I could sort of resize this. Feels a bit constrained, but I'll get rid of that notification. We can get it all in one screen. Now you can see the exact same setup. And I have to say, this experience is already smoother because I had a Mac version. It was all very weird and smooth. Because I'm using a browser and everything supported, it just works. So dare I say, the web experience is actually slightly better than the Mac experience. And so if we go ahead and hit connect, what I'm hoping to get a sense of is the speed, and it's definitely faster. It's definitely zippier. And this is sort of the power of the cloud, if you borrow sort of Tableau's terminology here, because everything is basically happening in the same place. There's virtually no real transfer of anything. And all I'm really doing in the browser is just getting a window into what's happening, which requires considerably less information to sort of operate. In fact, it probably takes longer for my click to register between my mouse and the server in America than it does to process the request and do all the stuff required. So let's go ahead and bring that into the view. It's doing exactly the same thing. You'll notice that Tableau web interface has a slightly different setup, but this is kind of nice that we're able to do all of this in the browser. We'll wait for this to load. I want to see if it's actually faster. I don't get a sense of it feeling faster. So it might just be that, hey, my internet connection and the one between the data centers are actually not that different, but it's hard to believe that. So what we'll do is we go ahead and get column 12. Now, can I change the geographic role to postcode? Yes, we can. And in this, we double clicked and we built a map. Now, the difference here is, the way I've set that as postcode, what's not going on here is it's not, because this Tableau Cloud instance is in America, I think it's defaulting the geography here to a different country. And so what I can't really change it. I think it thinks these are zip codes rather than postcodes. But if I go to map, I'm not really able to specify the country, and I'm not also seeing the information I need to see down here. It is on the map. We can see here that it's all detailed out, but I'm just not seeing anything that I need to. So let's go down and see if we can force it to render something, putting the count of items on size. And yeah, we don't see sort of the null indicator here. You can just see that there are, it says this, it's weird. There's a legend, but there's just nothing to select. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It might be me, it might be the product, but just to sort of clarify that we are doing the right thing. We're going to column 12. We're getting all the outcodes. We're going to the count. We're getting all the columns. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort this. And this is essentially what I drew in desktop. In fact, do I still have that available? Yes, we do. That's basically what I drew. And the difference is here, I'm not able to see this little message that says for unknown, get this window to pop up. And that's just not what I'm getting here. So if I go to sheet 1 here, you'll see that, it's just not loading that screen up. Now, I wonder, and this is one of the things you have to be sort of careful with, if there's a way to get it to show, and I'm just not getting it. And one thing I will triple check, and this is something you do have to check. Let me just disable the ad blocker. Because the Tableau Cloud setup is really smart, even though the page refreshed, it just caught the session again, so I can carry on as I am. And if I, for whatever reason, closed this browser and came back, it would actually sort of save a draft for me, and it would open up this instance. So I don't have to worry about losing my work. But yeah, I can't get the exact same thing drawn, but I am using the exact same data. So, that's the sort of cloud experience sometimes. There's still a little bit of work to do in terms of feature parity. Things are getting there, but they're not quite there. And some of those small things you need to kind of get you across the finish line haven't quite made it over. But the connection experience was, I think, much faster. The interface was a little bit zippier. Just shame about that final mile, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Amazon S3 connector. It's probably worth following this connector out of beta, and then maybe in a few months' time, once it's out of beta and it's got its final sort of feature set, and we've got some instructions on how it works, we can actually try and have a look at that. But I thought I'd do this video just now, just to highlight to people that it's available. You should be using it. Because it's in beta, I would say probably not great for production. I've had issues with Excel files, for example. It might just be my Mac and the fact that that's not supported in macOS Ventura, but nonetheless, you should try it, do your own testing, and come to your own conclusion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.